Clayton Power nearly as good as got it in.
Yeah.
I don't know, start that again. Now, and it makes a cracking, makes a cracking. Take it from my own. Ready, leave it. Right, cut that clip and don't put that in the outtakes. Right, so we're parked up here to show you this. This is the Clayton Power unit. So this is probably the biggest battery brand you've never heard of, but you've seen used in daily use. I believe this is the way that in a camper van like this, in a transporter platform, this can become the new way of having complete off-grid without the need for gas, without the need for loads of work of all the installs or the complex system like a Victron system. And there's a space for that in every application, but this thing here is going to save you so much time, save you money, save you weight, and do everything you need to do. So you have all the mod cons, all the standard 230 volt things you'll be able to use in your house in a van. So like I said, Clayton Power have been around for many years now. This is a European built product by the Danish. You will have seen it, you've just not known you've seen it, because this is used originally in the commercial market. So Sainsbury's use it to power their cooling systems in the back of their delivery vehicles. BT OpenReach use them. They've got them in all of these. You'll have seen them used on the side of the road, because this gives you the ability to run almost anything that's 230 volt from this unit. So many times, and so many of the conversion companies will do a setup where you've got a leisure battery, and your leisure battery will run your 12 volts or your fridges and your, things like this. If you want to use your plug sockets, if you want to power your hairdryer, not something I need by the way, but air fryers, anything like that, then you would have to have a standard 230, 240 connection at the campsite. You don't need that anymore. What I'm going to try and show you today is briefly and as quickly as I can is how this can solve all of that. So your light, this vehicle here has no electric hookup and can run coffee machines, can run fridges, all with just this unit in one go. Simple install, and when I say simple install, this can be installed in an hour, whereas something like a complete Victron system would take days to install. So something you can do yourself or your conversion company can do for you, but when you add up the costs and everything, this is going to cost you less, because one, it saves you time with the install and a lot of complex wiring, and two, it sits in such a smaller space in your vehicle, is a lot lighter and works out more cost effective than something you would get out of a Victron system. So this is Clayton Power's own van, which is obviously running a Clayton Power unit. This was built by the guys at Tribe camper vans. So big conversion companies like Three Bridges, I think they were one of the early adopters of it. Jack Shack are using them, Tribe are using them now, and I think more and more of the conversion companies will start using the Clayton Power unit. I kick myself a little bit because I feel like we like to be innovators in the industry, and it's something that I'd kind of heard of previously but never really investigated enough until they came to me and showed me practically how good it was. I'm used to seeing, and I've got my own vehicle, I've got a Crafter that's absolutely full of a really complicated Victron system, and it's great apart from one, it's really expensive, two, it takes up loads of room, and it's so complex in the way it's wired up and all the different connections and all the different things you have to Bluetooth to, that when something goes wrong with it, I'm trying to navigate and figure out what problem it is that's caused that. Whereas the beauty of these Clayton Power units is one solid unit, everything's all in one place. It does it all. It's got everything built in. It's got your inverter in it. It's got your DC charging. It's got everything you possibly need in one small shell to do the whole lot, that allows you to have a van that doesn't need to have gas in the back. You don't need to have to be constantly worried about topping up your gas or buying gas or where you're going to get it from. Everything you need in one small, simple to use unit. There is so much to cover. We're never going to get it in this one video because I want to keep it quite short, just to try and explain the basic overview of it, but we're going to try and cover as much as we can, and there'll be several follow-on videos to show you how usable they are, especially in this transporter platform. Until recently, the people have realized that actually that suits the leisure industry and what we do so much, because we want to do all the same things that all those guys do and a bit more. We want to cram it into a tiny little space, and we want to be able to use all the things that we would use when we're at home. You can see their units on display there. It's not necessarily something everybody would want to do, but they'll use this to demo vehicles. You can see there's one of the Transport HQ fridges, great for running off 12 volt there, keep all your beers in it, keep all everything you need in there. And then Carl, the guy driving this van, has an espresso coffee machine in there. Coffee machines, as we know, run loads of power, but you can't get a 12 volt coffee machine. If you could, it wouldn't be able to make that coffee nice and rich. You need to be able to run it off 240 volt, as this one is here. But there's so many other ways you can use these units. So this particular unit here is the LPS II. This is the 3000, which is the biggest unit. They do smaller units, possibly overkill for something like this, but I don't know, you can never have too much power. We've spoke about power units before. People have rang and said, well, I want to run this, this and this, and what size power should I go for? Well, the answer is always the most, really. The most you can afford, because the more power you've got, the less issues you're going to have with any kind of drainage. But the beauty with these is you can run induction hobs, you can run your hairdryer if you need one, you can run your straighteners, you can use anything that you would use in your standard home off one of these units. while you're off grid. Pair that with something like solar. So this fan's got a 360 watt solar panel on it. That's pretty much constantly keeping that battery topped up before you start adding the addition of the DC-DC charging, which is running that charging system off your vehicle's alternator. So all your leisure battery systems that you would see now will have a split charge system that charges your leisure battery. That's all built into this unit. So you have a straight connection from the alternator that's pulling power to fill this, and that'll fill that while you're driving. If you ran this thing pretty much flat while you're driving, within an hour. And on top of that, this thing can have multiple charges. Trying to keep it in simple in terms, this could be charging from your solar and from your battery at the same time, so that can be even quicker. So just to explain the DC-DC charging a bit more, because I didn't understand it myself totally really, but you've obviously got AC-DC, who are a band. We all know that, but to simplify that, so your AC is your mains, your DC is your charge that comes from your alternator. So these can run concurrently. So what that basically means is, to simplify it, while you're driving along, it's charging it off your battery from your alternator, and it's also charging it from the sun. And equally, when you're on a campsite, if you did need electric hookup, while that's charging from your electric hookup, it's also charging from the sun. I was talking to Carl about this. We've been over this so much and how this works in here. Carl's got his THQ fridge set far too cold really. It's on the ultimate in low. He's constantly drinking coffee and demoing its people. He's constantly plugging in a little electric heater to show how powerful it is. It's like a 2,000 watt electric heater to show how quickly this recharges. And by the time he's done his day, parked it up at home, by the time he's got out in the morning, the solar's filled the battery again. So the reality is, in this particular setup, it's very unlikely you're even going to need electric hookup. So you've got that additional cost involved in having to have an electric hookup. Yes, you can put it there if you want, and yes, it'll charge the unit quicker when you're on a campsite. But whenever we go on holiday, we don't just drive to the field down the bottom of the road. We drive a long journey, and by the time you've got there, well before you've probably got there, this unit is already 100% full, and that's come from your feed from your vehicle, from your battery, from your DC, and also from your solar, to get this to be able to power everything you need the whole time you're there. Worst case scenario, let's just say you're sitting on a campsite and you've been using your air fryer, your wife's been straightening her hair, you've been making coffee, and you've run the battery low. You would only need to just run the vehicle for a short period of time to start to top that back up again, possibly while you're waiting for a bit of sun. I mean, we've been in the woods here now for quite a while. It's been in and out of sun. Ideally, wanted a beautiful sunny day. So this van currently in very kind of flat light, but there's sun peeping through every now and again. It's got a 360 watt panel on it. They can take up to a 400 watt panel, but it was pulling in 360 watts in this flat light, which is going to charge this really quicker than you could even discharge it in some respects from the stuff you would do in day-to-day use. If you go onto the website, if you look at Clayton Power's website, there's several different units, and I just wanted to try and briefly explain the difference between them all. So this is the big one. This is the 3000. This is the one that you quite often see in crafter installs, or people that think they're going to consume a lot of energy in their transporter. You don't necessarily need to have the biggest unit. It's all very much down to the size of the inverter. So there's 4 units, this being the 3000, and they kind of go down in 500s from there. So the 3000 just means that it's 3000 watt inverter and so on. You've got 2500 and down from there. The baby unit, the 1500 SE, they call it. That unit is kind of just an entry-level basic unit. That doesn't have the ability to charge from solar like this van has and like these units do, but other than that, they're very much similar. The other units have the ability to, in the future, it's kind of not common knowledge yet, but there are additional batteries that could be added to them in time. So you don't have to go and buy the whole kit again or go and buy different inverters and stuff. There can be a bolt-on system to add to this. If you go for the 1500 unit, there won't be the ability to do that. But still, if you've got a small transporter and you still want to be able to just have an entry-level kit that still does everything you want to, it's definitely a viable option as well. So the additional storage options will be coming later this year. We'll cover that in a future video because it's too much to try and go through, but just talking about those 4 units, the 3000 down to the 1500, it's all exactly the same size unit. They look the same other than the number that's on the front there, but weight obviously is different because they've got less storage. So the biggest unit is 27.5, and then working their way down through the 4 units, the smallest one is 22.5. Just briefly bringing back the whole Victron system. So I saw some stats on these. We tried to work out what the difference is in cost between the same setup if you went for a Victron system, and there's kind of this between, to get this equivalent in a Victron system, the few things to bear in mind is it's going to cost you about 700-800 quid more, about 26 kilos more, I think we worked out at, if you add in everything that you would need for your Victron system, all your different inverters and all your different chargers. And if you've ever seen one of these Victron systems installed, there's a bit of an art form to it in the way they have to lay the cables out to make them look nice. Like in my crafter, it takes up the whole underneath of a bed, but they take up so much space. This unit is a fraction of the size. The footprint that it sits on is so much smaller than your full complete Victron system. And probably the key, above the cost and above space, is the amount of time it takes to install. Good installer might take 2-3 days to install a Victron system, whereas genuinely, with the instructions that come with this, they're so comprehensive, you can install this yourself or go to your camper conversion company, explain what you want, and they'll thank you for the fact that it's going to save them a hell of a lot of time and money to install one of these units in your van. Over the past few weeks, while I've been discussing these with a bunch of the conversion network that we deal with, in chatting, it kind of dawned on me and found out from these guys that a lot of them don't do their own electrics. They'll employ somebody to come in and do it. Now, first of all, that's costly. Secondly, they're trying to get time in their diary and it's slowing down the builds for the customers. And thirdly, what they're ending up with is just a leisure battery system that allows them to have 240 hookup when they're on a campsite and not be able to run all their appliances off grid like this. And the industry, the camping industry, is really excited by these because one, it saves them time. Two, they can do it themselves. They've not got to get somebody in to do it. And three, it's all in one place. So they're not going to have people ringing them going, oh, so-and-so's not working, this isn't working on my van, and they're trying to diagnose what the cause is because the whole unit does it all in one. But the beauty with this unit is they can track down the cause of the problem very quickly. Their warranty is exceptional. You get a 2-year warranty with the unit, which is going to get you back up and running if you did have a problem instantly. So before we've covered the portable power banks, various different manufacturers make them now. So you've got EcoFlow, Bluetti, I don't know, what some of the Jackery, some of the other ones that do it. And there's definitely a space for them in this industry. We've kind of spoke about before how they work if you've got a combi and you want to be taking them down the beach or into the woods, whether people actually do that or not. And the questions come up quite a lot whether they can be your standalone unit in the vehicle. And there's a space for them, but they just don't have the capacity to do all the things these do. So I mean, as a comparison, if you were trying to use that power bank and you're running it flat and you want to charge it on the go, well, that's only charging at 12 volts off your cigarette lighter, which pops out when you're driving along all the time. Well, you know how thin the wire are on those 12 volt systems, how much power that can get into that power pack, whereas this is going to be charging from your DC, from your battery on a 16mm cable. That's why this thing can charge so much quicker. That's why you can get it from 0 to 80% in an hour, whereas those portable power banks, you're looking, a day. Whereas the EcoFlows and the Bluettis of the world, they serve a purpose and they'll work in some applications, but not when you want to do the sort of thing you want to when you've got a full off-grid camper van, which is what these are perfect for. So I thought I'd take you in closer and show you the control panel and show you what you got in the front there. So this unit isn't currently connected to anything, so you'll see on the display here how much charge it's got. So it's really clear and simple. You can see at the top here Clayton Power and LPS II, so that stands for lithium power supply, and this is an updated version which they updated I think in August 2021. You've got your 12 volt on, you've got your 230, so that's your mains, your hair dryers and all your other bits, your air fryer and everything off your 230. Your 12 volt is your things that power your fridge and normally your lights and various things like that, so you can turn that on and off at the touch of a button. You've got a plug socket here at the front. Not that you really need that because you're going to have that wide in off everything off the back, but you've got it there if you did need to quickly plug something in. And then you've got all your different functions here, which is really simple. I won't go through the full menus because there's so many options, but there's some really nice little features in there. It's going to show you what your discharge is, how much power you've got at the current amount of discharge and the equipment and the tools that you're using in the vehicle at the time, all your solar input, what's coming from your DC, what's coming from your AC, everything you need to know from there. There's also another really nice feature in this. I've heard I don't know how many times that people have run their battery flat on their vehicle when they're sitting at a campsite, and that's down to them leaving their lights on, listening to their stereo, leaving their blowers on, leaving the ignition on, and it runs the battery flat. Well, this has an option in the menu to jump start your vehicle so it can send the power back the other way. You go to that, send it over, the power will go back to your battery, charge your battery, and it allows you to jump start your vehicle all from this clever unit here. So that's the control panel that you can see from the unit. There is also a remote control you can have. I'm just showing you here quickly. Set very similar features, so it allows you to turn it, your 230 on and off, your 12 volt on and off, and also your jump start feature there. So as it stands at the minute, this unit would be hidden away and there's no additional control panel, although Clayton are working with one of the big display manufacturers if you want to have your big display that gives you all your information. I personally prefer that everything to be hidden away, to have a neat install, and access to the remote control just makes it nice and simple. It shows you how much battery power you've got. It allows you to turn it on and off if you want to, but it's the same as your house. How often do you go and check your fuse board or check how much energy is coming through your meter or whether your trip switches have gone? It's all hidden away. We just rely on the fact that it's there, the energy's there, the power's going to work, and it's the same with this. I think these need to be hidden away nice and neatly, access to them if you need to for any reason, if you want to be able to see the display. But I get some people want to have the big control panel, they can see everything, but for so many people, a nice hidden install, nice clean van without switches and dials and everything everywhere just makes for a neater, tidier, kind of more minimalistic finish inside your van. Right, so your trip switch on your front there is going to work your 230 plug socket on the front here, and then spinning it round, there's all your connections on the back. Just to simplify this, I won't go over this completely now. It's so simple in the way that you set it up, and it's very self-explanatory. You'll see when you get these, the instructions that come with them come with really clear diagrams to make sure you almost can't go wrong really on how you install that. Famous last words, I'm sure people do, but it's so simple in the way it's all marked out. So it would come with a standard 230 in here. So this was if you had an electric hookup, you could swap this connector out and have your standard orange cable that came in there to charge your unit off your 230. You have a similar connector but in a different color. So this is called a Nutric connector, which I'm told by Carl from Clayton is very commonly used in the audio industry. If you've got a band, you probably know one of them is. So you get a different color one of them that will go into here, which is your 230 out. So that's where you'll build your bank of plug sockets into your side of your cupboard. You've got your DC in, so this is from your battery, from your alternator, and then you've got your C2 connection there, and your C2 is your solar input. So we'll go over outputs now. Again, we'll just do this quickly and we'll go into a lot more depth in future videos and show you it set up and running. But you've got your 230 out, so obviously the opposite to the 230 in. That's then going to run to your plug sockets that you have on the side of your cupboards that you plug all your appliances into, and you've got your DC out, so that's your 12 volt. So out of there you'll have your fuse board with all your individual 12 volt connections, so your fridges, your lights, and anything else that you would normally see run off a 12 volt. On the back here also you've got your C1 input, so that is just your ignition live or your engine running. That's what's waking the unit up when you start your ignition or start your engine. And then on the back here, we'll go through data another time because that's to do with the fast charge system that you can also add to them if you need to. You've got your remote connection, so this remote here we went through briefly before, the connects on there, that charges on there, and then you can run that remote to one of your cupboards or hide it wherever you want to go. I know I keep saying this, but it's the simplicity of the install and how little equipment you need to be able to install it. So I'm just going to run you through the other things that you may need other than the unit. So you will need a mounting bracket. These aren't particularly expensive. £39 bracket just allows you to secure the power unit down. Other than that, a remote if you decide to go down the route of adding a remote, and then the standard cable set. So not everybody's going to use this cable set because most of your conversion companies will build their own, but it just makes it simpler if you want to. You can get everything you need really there in the way of cables for the installation process is there. So I've tried to cover as much as possible in a short space of time, which is impossible really with something as brilliant as this. Feel free to ask any questions that you want. Comment below, I'll try and answer them. Give us a call. I truly believe this is the future of transporter conversions or any camper van conversion, in the fact that it allows you to be off-grid, have power at the touch of a button. We're so used to using in our houses that when we go away we want those home comforts with us. I hope you found this video useful. If you're thinking of embarking on a camper conversion, whether you're doing it yourself or you're getting a conversion company to do it, ask them to get in touch with us. We are the UK distributors to the leisure market of the Clayton Power unit, so we can offer good trade discounts to the conversion companies. They might not even be aware that these units are available, and I think a lot of them, once they're available and realise they're available and how good they are, it could potentially change what we see in so many camper conversions now across the UK and Europe. The units are in stock, they're readily available. These things can go out next day. So if you're in a rush for it, or you're a quick snap decision of change direction, you want to go with your electric in your vehicle, again, we have them in stock ready to send. Just order it off the website. You should have it within a day or two. One of the most complicated things and the hardest thing for people to get their head around when they're building a camper or planning the build of a camper is understanding and knowing what electrics, and we've just made that a whole lot simple with this Clayton Power unit. You need to think of this unit as the heart of your van. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please do share it with anybody else you think may be interested. Please do hit that like button, it means a lot to us. It means that YouTube shows it to other people. Please do subscribe to the channel. Click that little bell to get notifications when new videos come out on this and everything else we're working on, crafter stuff, ID Buzz stuff, you name it. We've got a whole list of videos that we're working on. And as always, thanks for watching. So if you're a conversion company and it's something that you're interested in doing, this vehicle here, Carl's driving it around the UK all the time, so get in touch. We could potentially arrange to get Carl to bring this vehicle to you and give you a demonstration so you can see how this could work and how you could offer it to your customers.